Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We're holding Mishnah Berurah Chelik Gimel on Mitzvah Hashem today. We will be learning Daf Ayin Hey Amud Beis. We are continuing to learn Hilchos Shabbos. We pick up today on the very bottom line of Ayin Hey Amud Aleph, Siman Reish Tzadik Tes Sif Gimel. Our learning should be a schus for Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, Hanasunim Batzara Bashivya, Ha'imdim Bein Bayom Ubein Bayabasha Hamakim Yerachem Aleim, V'Yetziam Yitzar L'Rvacha Me'afelo La'ira Mishiba L'Geula, Hashta Bagolo V'Zman Kariv V'Nemar Amen. Our learning should be a schus for Shalem, for Chava Hadassah Bas Rezel Serel. Our learning should also be a schus for Yisrael ben Rachel, Yonasan ben Michal, and Yoel ben Michal. The Rebbeinu Shalom should watch over them, together with all of our other brothers and sisters who find themselves in harm's way. B'chol makom shehem. So here in Siman Reish Tzadik Tes, we've been discussing the halachas of Havdalah. Now, right at the outset of Siman Reish Tzadik Tes, we learned the halacha that on Shabbos evening, so we're going into Motzei Shabbos, we're only allowed to eat up until Shkia. Once Shkia comes, we're not allowed to eat anymore before we make Havdalah. Having said that, if somebody started a Suda, so if somebody sat down to start Shalashudis, and he washed, he made Hamaitzi, so he's being Kaveh Suda al Halechem, he's making a bona fide Suda Shlishis, then, as long as he started before Shkia, maybe he made the bracha of Hamaitzi a minute before Shkia, he made the bracha of Hamaitzi. He began the Suda before Shkia. Now, he could keep on eating. He could eat as late as he wants. He could eat after Shkia. He could eat until Tzeis. He could eat after Tzeis. He could keep on eating. He's not mechuyev to be mafsik his Suda. He's not mechuyev to interrupt his Suda in order to make Havdalah. We explained that the reason for this is very simple. When you start a Suda, when you wash and you make Hamoitzi on Lechem before Shkia, all of the eating that comes after that is part of that Suda. It goes after the beginning of that Suda. This is a Suda that started before Shkia. Since it's a Suda that started before Shkia, you could keep on eating and you don't have to interrupt your Suda for Havdalah. Now, I just want to be careful. I said that you're not allowed to eat after Shkia. Remember what we learned in the Mishnah Berurah previously. If Shkia comes and you have not yet eaten Sudas Shlishis, you didn't eat Shalshudis yet, you still have 20 minutes. You could still, according to the Mishnah Berurah, you still have 20 minutes where you could wash and you could begin your Shalshudis. Now, let's say somebody is eating, coming to Shkia, but he's not having a Sudas Kva. He didn't wash. He's not having a Suda al Halechem. Somebody is snacking. Somebody's sitting by the table. He's eating some pears. He has some nice apples. Maybe he's having some potato chips and some popcorn. In that case, you're not allowed to keep on eating after Shkia. You have to be mafsik your Suda. It's not really a Suda because you didn't wash. It's not a Suda. You have to interrupt your eating. Why? Because if you're eating from a bowl of popcorn a minute before Shkia, so fine, a minute before Shkia you're allowed to eat. But now, a minute after Shkia, you're not allowed to eat popcorn. To reach into the bowl and eat more popcorn, this is a new act of eating after Shkia, which you're not allowed to do until Havdalah. You aren't Keveya Suda before Shkia. So in that case, you would have to interrupt your eating in order to make Havdalah. Now, against that backdrop, let's see what the Mechaber says here. Bottom line, on Ayin Hey Amud Aleph, Siman Reish Tzadik Tes, Sif Gimel, says the Mechaber. Kishemafsik lahavdil. In a case when you are interrupting your eating in order to make Havdalah. Ein sarach levarech bari pri hagafen al kais shel Havdalah. You don't have to make a bari pri hagafen on your kais of Havdalah. Okay, what's going on over here? So obviously somebody is eating. It's after Shkia. It's already time to make Havdalah. It's already a time that you're allowed to make Havdalah. So let's say it's already Tzeisak Kechavim. You want to make Havdalah. And of course, as part of Havdalah, you're going to have a kais. You make Havdalah al hakais. Now, we're talking about a case over here where you already made a Bere Pri Hagafen. Now, there are two very simple cases where this can happen. Let's say somebody sat down before Shkia, and he's not making a Suda, but he has a nice bottle of Cabernet. Maybe he has a nice bottle of Cabernet, and he has some nice fruits. So he sits down, and he makes a bari priya gofen, and he's sipping his Cabernet, and he makes a bari priya eitz, he's eating his apples, he's having his potato chips, he's having his popcorn. Now, remember what we said. We said, if you are just sitting and eating, and you aren't kivei suda, now you have to interrupt your eating. But you have to interrupt your eating in order to make Havdalah. When the Zman Havdalah comes, you have to make Havdalah. Now, do you have to make a new Bari Pri Hagofen on the Kais of Havdalah? You made a Bari Pri Hagofen on your Cabernet. So are you going to have to make a new Bari Pri Hagofen on the Kais of Havdalah? You're getting yourself into a bracha shaila over here. So says the Mechaber, no. When you interrupt your eating in order to make Havdalah, ein tzarich levarich bari pri hagafen. You don't have to make a new bari pri hagafen al kais shel Havdalah, on the case of yayin for Havdalah. But v'yesh oimrim shetzarich, there are those who disagree. Now I gave you one example, but there is another example. Another example would be somebody's having a bona fide suda al alechem. He's eating suda shlishis. Now, we learned earlier in what? In Reish Tzadik Aleph, I think. Was it Reish Tzadik Aleph? I think back in Reish Tzadik Aleph. In Reish Tzadik Aleph, in Mishnah Berurah, is cut in Chaf Aleph. That's on Samech Ches Amud Aleph. We learned the Mishnah Berurah brought down those that say, V'toiv lahadeh levarech al hayayin toich hasuda. There's an Indian to make a bari pri hagafen on wine as part of your shalosh shudas. There's no kiddush by shalosh shudas, but there is an Indian brought down to make a bari pri hagafen and have wine by shalosh shudas. Okay, so let's say somebody sat down for shalosh shudas. He started his shalosh shudas before shkia, and as part of his shalosh shudas, he's having wine. Now it's time for Havdalah. Now he's not mechuyev to be mafsik his suda in order to make Havdalah. Right? But here's another case. Let's say for some reason he's making Havdalah now. He already made a bari pri hagafen on wine. Does he have to make another bari pri hagafen? Brings down the Mechaber over here, Machlokes. There are those that say that the bari pri hagafen that you made on your wine covers the Havdalah wine. There are those that say that the bari pri hagafen that you made on your Havdalah wine does not, on your wine by shalosh shudas, does not cover your Havdalah wine. Now let's get into the weeds of this a little bit in the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah's test on the bottom of Ayin Hey Amud Aleph. Like I told you, there are two possible cases over here. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Kishamavsik lahavdil, Hainu, says the Mishnah Berurah. This first opinion of the Mechaber, that says that you do not need a new bari pri hagafen on your Havdalah wine, Hainu afilu imaya kavua mitchila l'shtia levad. This is true, even in the scenario where I gave you, where this person was not kivei suda. This person sat down, and he's just sipping Cabernet and having some fruits and some potato chips and some popcorn. And in that case, the mechuyev lahafsik. In that case, you're mechuyev to interrupt your suda in order to make Havdalah, because you're no longer allowed to eat before you make Havdalah. Afilu hachi. Even though you're mechuyev to interrupt your suda, ein tzarich levarich ata bari pri hagafen. You don't have to make a new bari pri hagafen on your Havdalah wine. Sheniftar bebirchas bari pri hagafen shebirach al shtiya rishona. Because your original bari pri hagafen that you made on your Cabernet that you were sipping for your late Shabbos afternoon snack, that's going to cover the yayin for your Havdalah. Now, what's the chiddush that the Mishnah Berurah is saying over here? Not the Mishnah Berurah is saying. That the Mishnah Berurah is telling us, the Mechaber is saying. What the Mishnah Berurah is telling us like this. In the scenario where you are not kivei suda, where you didn't wash and make hamoitzi before shkia, in that scenario, you are mechuyev. You're obligated to interrupt your eating in order to make Havdalah. Now, that creates a very, very strong rationale for saying that you must make a new bari pri hagafen on your Havdalah wine. Because let's look at it from this perspective. You sat down before shkia, you made a bari pri hagafen on a nice Cabernet, and now you're sitting, you're snacking, you're having fruit, you're having potato chips. Oh, now you're mechuyev to interrupt your suda. What does that mean? That means, are you allowed to take more Cabernet now? No, you're not. You're not allowed to drink more Cabernet now, because now you're not allowed to continue drinking, continue eating until you make Havdalah. So there's a very strong reason, a very powerful svara to say that original Bari Priagafen that you made on your Cabernet is gone because you can't even drink any more Cabernet now. You can't drink anything. You can't eat anything until you make Havdalah. So that would be a very powerful reason to say that now you want to make Havdalah, you need a new Bari Priagafen on your Havdalah wine. Says the Mishnah Berurah that no, this first opinion of the Mechaber holds that even in that case, where you're mechuyev lahafsik, where you must interrupt your meal, you still do not need a new Bari Priagafen. Your original Bari Priagafen is still going to cover your Havdalah wine. Now, says the Mishnah Berurah, ve'ein tzarich loymar, and I don't need to tell you, it's obvious. Im koi be'emtza achilasai she'ein tzarich min adin lahafsik, if you started a Suda before Shkia, so now you're not mechuyev to interrupt your meal at all. Ve'roitza ata lahavdil alayayin, and you just decided, you looked at the clock, you realized it's already Seisek Echavim, so you said, oh, you know what, I'll make Havdalah now. Why not? You're not mechuyev to interrupt your meal. You want to keep on drinking Cabernet, you're allowed to, because you washed before Shkia. This is part of your long Seudah Shlishis. You made a Bari Priagafen as part of your Seudah Shlishis. You're allowed to keep on drinking wine as long as you want. You want to make Havdalah? So, yeah, you don't have to make a new Bari Priagafen on your Havdalah wine. Why should you? You made a Bari Priagafen at the beginning of Seudah Shlishis, and it's part of a Seudas Kva. So why would you need a new Bari Priagafen? That's why the Mishnah Berurah says over here it's a davar pashut. You don't need a new Bari Priagafen. She'ein tzarich levarach alav Bari Priagafen im kvar birech Bari Priagafen al yayin shebeseich hasuda oishel lefnei hasuda. V'chein, the same halacha would be true, says the Mishnah Berurah, im mavdil ala sheichar beseich hasuda. Let's say you're going to make Havdalah on beer. Let's say you live in a locale where beer is considered Chamar Medina. It's questionable nowadays whether beer is Chamar Medina, but let's say you live in a locale where beer is Chamar Medina, and you don't have yayin. Remember what we learned. If you have yayin, it's definitely preferable to make Havdalah on yayin. But you don't have yayin, and beer is a Chamar Medina. So now, again, you washed before Shkia, and when you wash and you make Hamoitzi, the Hamoitzi covers your beer. Remember, Hamoitzi covers all beverages. Once you make Hamoitzi, you don't have to make a shahakal on any beverage during the meal. The only beverage that Hamoitzi does not cover is yayin. Hamoitzi does not cover wine. You wash, and you want to have wine in the middle of your meal, you need to make a Bari Priagafen, right? But like this, Hamoitzi covers all beverages. So if you started Shal Shudas before Shkia, and as part of your Shal Shudas, you're drinking beer, or even if as part of your Shal Shudas, you're not drinking beer. But now you want to go ahead and you want to make Havdalah on beer. You don't need to make a shakal. Why? Because you're making Havdalah in middle of your Seudas Kva that you started before Shkia, that you're not mechuyev to interrupt. Now you want to make Havdalah on beer. Your beer is covered by the Hamoitzi. You don't need a new bracha. Ein tzarich levarach shahakol, afilu im loy birach klal shahakol mitchila. Even though you never made a shahakol, doesn't matter. The Hamoitzi that you made when you started your Shal Shudas is covering your beer and all other beverages. So again, just to sum it up, what the Mechaber is telling you over here is, you're in a position now where it's time to make Havdalah. You want to make Havdalah now. There's two different scenarios. One scenario is, you already made a Bari Priagafen. Why did you make a Bari Priagafen? Because right before Shkia, you sat down to have a snack, and as part of your snack, you had a cup of Cabernet. So you made a Bari Priagafen. Now Shkia came. You're not allowed to eat anymore. You have to stop eating until you make Havdalah. Now it's time to make Havdalah. You want to make Havdalah. Do you have to make a new Bari Priagafen? Says the Mechaber, you don't have to make a new Bari Priagafen. Your original Bari Priagafen is going to cover the Bari Priagafen for Havdalah. Now, in that case, the Mishnah Berurah points out, there's a little bit of a bigger chiddush, because in that case, you were mechuyev to interrupt your eating. Your eating ended. Halacha ended your eating. Once Shkia came, you weren't allowed to eat anymore. Therefore, there's a very strong reason to say you want to make Havdalah now, you need a Bari Priagafen. Says the Mechaber, no, you don't need a new Bari Priagafen. Then there's the simpler case. The simpler case is, you washed before Shkia. Now you're not mechuyev to interrupt your meal at all. Now you realize, Seisek Echavim, you want to make Havdalah. Okay, you want to make Havdalah? If you made a Bari Priagafen as part of your Seudah Shlishis, you drank wine as part of Shal Shudas, you don't need a new Bari Priagafen. Let's say you're making havdalah on beer, says the Mishnah Berurah, well, beer is covered by the hamaitzi, so you wouldn't need a shahakal on the cup of beer that you're having for havdalah. But the Mishnah Berurah the Mechaber brought down a second opinion, the Yesh Oimrim Shetzarech. There are those that disagree and say that the kais of havdalah is going to require a new bracha. This opinion holds the kais shel havdalah hu inyan bifnei atzmai. They make a very compelling argument. They say, why is it that hamaitzi covers all beverages during the meal? Because all of the drinks that you drink during the meal are considered boim machmas hasuda. They're all considered part and parcel of the suda, because you don't eat a suda without drinking. Whenever you have a suda, you always have beverages on the table, and hamaitzi covers everything that comes as part of the suda, and the beverages come as part of the suda. Hagafen. Let's say you made a hagafen in middle of Shalosh Shudas. Why does the hagafen cover all other wine? You made one hagafen. You don't need any additional hagafen. You don't need a new hagafen on any additional wine that's also coming machmas hasuda. But this opinion holds the havdalah kais is not coming machmas hasuda. What does the havdalah kais have to do with the suda? The havdalah kais has nothing at all to do with the suda. You're not bringing it as another course. You're not bringing the havdalah kais because you're thirsty as part of your suda. You ate some salty potato chips, so now you want to drink. No, you're bringing the kais of havdalah for the mitzvah of havdalah. So this opinion holds the other brachas that you made, the hamaitzi that you made, can't cover a kais of beer for havdalah, because that kais of beer is not ba machmas hasuda. It's not coming for suda purposes. Even if you made a hagafen, the hagafen you made on your cabernet that you had as part of suda shlishis, that can't cover the cabernet that you're going to drink for havdalah, because it's a very different type of kais. This is a kais of mitzvah. That's a kais that's ba machmas hasuda. So therefore, this second opinion holds that you always are going to need a new bracha. Continues the Mishnah Berurah, and the Mishnah Berurah says, "For ikar kedei rishona." However, the ikar halacha follows the first opinion that the kais of havdalah is not going to require a new bracha. When we come, okay, nevertheless, says the Chavetz Chaim, "Toiv lizar lechatchila shaloi lahavdal b'suda." The best thing would be, don't do this. Don't make havdalah as part of suda shlishis. Lo ala sheichar, not on beer, which could possibly be covered by the hamaitzi. V'lo ala yayin im kvar birch mitchila ala yayin. And don't make havdalah on wine as part of your suda shlishis if you already made a bar pri agafen as part of your suda shlishis, because you're getting yourself into a shaila. Don't get yourself into this shaila of whether or not you should make a bracha. Now, the implication of the Mishnah Berurah is that if you did not have wine as part of your suda shlishis, so you didn't make a hagafen, now you want to make havdalah on wine, so now you're not getting yourself into a bracha shaila, right? Now you need to make a hagafen, so then there would be no problem. Now, if you're in a situation where you must interrupt your eating to make havdalah, in the case where you're taka mechuyev to interrupt your eating and you're mechuyev to make havdalah, lo yivarich, you shouldn't make a bracha on the case of havdalah to ha'ikar kedei rishona, because the ikar halacha follows the first opinion. I'll just speak out. What's troubling me a little bit over here is I'm not sure I really understand the mitzias of the case that the Mishnah Berurah just said. I mean, let's follow the paper trail over here. The scenario that I keep on giving. What's the scenario when you're mechuyev to interrupt your eating, right? The scenario when you're mechuyev to interrupt your eating is when you weren't kaveh suda. Now, if you weren't kaveh suda, what's that case? It means that you sat down when? Before Shkia. You sat down before Shkia. You made a bar pri agafen. You made a bar pri eitz on an apple. You made a bar pri adama on potato chips. But you weren't kaveh suda. Now, in that case, when are you mechuyev to interrupt your eating? You're mechuyev to interrupt your eating by Shkia, right? After Shkia, you're not allowed to eat anymore until you make havdalah. But when are you going to make havdalah? You're not making havdalah a minute after Shkia. You can't make havdalah yet. You're going to make havdalah by Tzeis HaKechavim. That's when you're going to make havdalah. So let's say we paskin let's say we're gonna go like the Rabbeinu Tam, according to Rav Moshe, Zechet Tzaddik V'Kodesh L'Vracha, right? So when is Tzesek Echavim? Tzesek Echavim is 50 minutes after Shkia. So you sat down at 5 minutes before Shkia. You made a Bari Pri Agafen on a Cabernet. You made a Bari Pri on an apple. You made a Bari Pri Adama on potato chips. By Shkia, you had to end your eating. You're not making Havdalah until 50 minutes later. We're having a whole Claire over here, whether or not you're going to have to make a new Bari Pri Agafen on your Havdalah wine. Your Havdalah wine is 50 minutes later. Even if you're still sitting by the table, it's a little bit hard to say that you aren't Mesiach Das. I mean, of course you're Mesiach Das. You know that you can't drink anymore. In other words, what's this whole shiloh over here of whether or not the Hagafen could, whether the Havdalah wine, the machlokes over here seems to be, right? The second opinion says that the Havdalah wine is not considered Ba Machmas Asuda. Since the Havdalah wine is a Kaishal Mitzvah, it's not Ba Machmas Asuda, it's not covered by the brachas that you make, Machmas Asuda. But l'chayr, there's another very simple angle over here, which is that if at Shkia I'm mechuyev to interrupt my eating, so then if I'm not making Havdalah until 50 minutes later, right, I'm sitting here for almost an hour, not eating and not drinking. I'm zicha Mesiach Das from my original Pri Agafen. I definitely have to make a new Bari Pri Agafen by Havdalah. So the only thing I could think is, if we're talking about somebody who goofed lahalacha, what do I mean? He sat down and he started snacking before Shkia. And he kept on snacking. He forgot the halacha that he has to interrupt his Suda. And now it's 50 minutes after Shkia, or it's 49 minutes after Shkia, whatever it is. It's very close. And he says, oy vey, I forgot. I'm not allowed to eat now. I have to be mafsik my Suda for Havdalah. So now he's going to make Havdalah. So maybe he wasn't Mesiach Das. Unless there's something that I'm missing over here. I mean, right? We said all the way in the beginning of Reish Samich Tes, you're not allowed to eat. Mishnah Berurah is cut an aleph and ayin dal and a beis. You're not allowed to eat mishetachshach once it gets dark. And the Mishnah Berurah said a cut an aleph. That means afilu b'safek chashecha. That means even ben hashmashos. So you're mechuyev to interrupt your eating right away by shkia. So this is something that I'm a little puzzled by. Which yoiser, it's tzarech yoiser iyun. I have to look a little bit deeper into this, but this is troubling me. Okay, now let's move on to Sif Daled, middle of the line, top line in the Shulchan Aruch, Ayin Hey Amud Beis. Says the Mechaber, Kishaya Oichel. Somebody is eating shalosh shudas. Now let's remember, we've brought up this machlokes already several times. Berchas hamazayin al hakois, benching over a kois shal yayin. We have a major machlokes rishonim. Does berchas hamazon need a kois, or does berchas hamazayin not need a kois? There are those that paskin you do need a kois. There are those that paskin that you don't need a kois. The Mechaber right now seems to be, initially, is going to be speaking in the world of the rishonim that hold that berchas hamazon requires a kois. Says the Mechaber, Kishaya oichel, you're eating shalosh shudas, v'choshcha, and now it gets dark. Sha'amarnu she'ein tzarich lahafsik. Now we said, if you started Suda Shlishis before Shkia, now you don't have to interrupt your Suda. You could keep on eating. Okay, so you started Suda Shlishis properly before Shkia. You washed on Lechem, so you kaveh Suda. So now you're going to continue your Suda Shlishis. You're going to have a nice long Shalosh Shudas. And now it comes to this man of Havdalah. Now you have a problem. You only have one kais. You only have one kais of yayin. That's it. And the kais of yayin that you have is just about exact. It's a revius, or maybe slightly more than a revius. And it's diluted with water as much as it could be diluted. So you really only have one kais. So now what should you do? L'chayra, you're going to need two kaisais. You're going to need one kais for berchas hamazon, according to the Mad Yama, the berchas hamazon tu'un kais. So you're going to need one kais for berchas hamazon. You're going to need another kais for havdalah, but you only have one kais. What should you do? Says the Mechaber, Kishaya Eichel, you're eating Shalosh Shudas, V'chashcha, and now it's already Shkia. Sha'amarnu she'ein tzarich lahafsik. And we said that since you washed and you made a moitzi, you're not mechuyev to interrupt your meal. And you only have one kais of yayin, and you hold that Birchas Hamazon tunin kais, what should you do? Goimer sudasai. First, finish your suda. Umevarech Birchas Hamazon al hakais. Bench al hakais, with the kais. But don't make a bar priagafen and don't drink from the wine. Just bench. You'll bench holding the kais. So you're going to do Birchas Hamazon al hakais. But at the end of benching, don't make a bar priagafen and don't drink the wine. Va'achakach mavdalov. And then segue right from benching into Havdalah. And you'll make a bar priagafen as part of Havdalah. And you'll drink the wine at the end of Havdalah. So boom, you did what you needed to do. You had one kais, but guess what? You managed to bench on the kais and to have the kais for Havdalah. Who says you have to drink the wine right after benching? You won't drink the wine right after benching. You'll make the agafen as part of Havdalah and you'll drink the wine after Havdalah. Okay. But on the other hand, if you have no shortage of wine, if you still have a whole bottle of Cabernet on the table, so then, so mevarich Birchas Hamazon al echad, so bench on one kais, and make a hagafen, and drink it, umavdil al echad, and then you'll make Havdalah on a second kais. Now, right away, the question over here that many of you might have in your mind is, if we're talking about a Shalosh Shudas, where you washed Hamoitzi, and you started it before Shkia, and this Shalosh Shudas went all the way until Tzesek Echavim, and now you're benching on a kais, and you're going to make a bar priagafen on that kais, and you're going to drink that kais, that means that you're drinking before Havdalah. And you're drinking before Havdalah after you already benched on Shalosh Shudas. In other words, the eating and the drinking that you're doing as part of Shalosh Shudas, that's no problem at all. Since you washed before Shkia, you can eat as long as you want. You could eat even past Tzesek Echavim. You could drink wine past Tzesek Echavim. No problem. But now, l'chari, you already ended your Shalosh Shudas, right? You benched. Ala kais. Now, after benching, you're making a new bar priagafen and you're drinking wine before Havdalah. So the Mishnah Berurah is going to say, yes, you could do that. You know why? Because the wine of the kais of benching is considered part of the Suda. So just like you were allowed to eat that Suda, just like you weren't mechuyev to interrupt that Suda in order to make Havdalah, because you were kaveh Suda before Shkia, you're also allowed to drink the Birchas Hamazon yayin. But over here, so far, that's what we have here in the Mechaber. So the Mechaber, again, the Mechaber is talking about a case. You did the right thing. You washed for Shalosh Shudas before Shkia. Now you're allowed to have a long Shalosh Shudas. You can eat as long as you want. Now you want to make Havdalah. If you paskin like the Mandi Amar, Birchas Hamazon tunin kais, so your benching on your Suda Shlishis is going to require a kais of yayin. Havdalah is also going to require a kais of yayin. What do you do if you only have one kais? So says the Mechaber, if you only have one kais, do Birchas Hamazon ala kais. That's fine. Do Birchas Hamazon ala kais, but don't make a bar priagafen and don't drink the wine. And then make Havdalah. Make a bar priagafen as part of Havdalah, and then drink the wine. You have two kaisais, do it on two kaisais. Bench on one kais, make a bar priagafen, drink it, then make Havdalah on the second kais, make a bar priagafen, and drink that kais. Okay, let's take a look here at the Mishnah Berurah, and then I'll bring up a shaila that comes up very often. Mishnah Berurah is cut yud aleph, umavarich. Hainu, laman damar Birchas Hamazon tu the kais. Of course, we're talking here in the world of the Rishonim that hold that Birchas Hamazon requires a kais. V'ayin Siman Kuf Bei Beis Sef Aleph, where we discuss that in detail. Ice cut yud beis. So what you're going to do if you have one kais is you're going to bench al hakais, but you're not going to make a bar priagafen and you're not going to drink from that wine at achar Havdalah. And there's a very important reason why you're going to do that. Kedei shelo yifgemenu. If you only have one kais and you bench on the kais and you make a bar priagafen and you take a sip from it, now that kais is a kais pogum. Now you can't use it for Havdalah. Because for Havdalah, you're not allowed to use a kais pogum. Now, you could always be masakin a kais pogum. But how are you masakin a kais pogum? By adding wine. You don't have any more wine. Okay, there's another way you could be masakin a kais pogum. You could add water. Oh, you can't add water. Why? Because this wine is already as diluted as it could get. If you dilute it anymore, it's no longer a bar priyagofen. So that's the first case of the mechaber. You only had one kais. You paskin like them on the Amar, Birkas Hamazon tunin kais. So fine, bench al hakais, but don't make a bar priyagofen. Don't drink from it in order not to make it a kais pogum. Then make havdalah. Make a bar priyagofen in the havdalah, and then you'll drink the wine. Ice cut yud gimel. But if you have two kaisais available, then the mechaber said, oh, beautiful. Bench on the first kais, make a bar priyagofen, drink it, then make havdalah on the second kais, make a bar priyagofen and drink that kais. Why? What's wrong with the first scenario? So what? So I have more Cabernet. Why do I have to use two kaises? I'll save the Cabernet for next week. Why do I have to use two kaises? Explains the Mishnah Berurah, no, this is very bedafka. There's a reason why you should do it on two kaises. Atam, the reason is, we don't perform two mitzvahs using one kais. Why? We don't want to look like we're bundling. We don't want to look like we're bundling up mitzvahs. Let's kill two birds with one stone. We'll knock off havdalah and benching with one kais of yayin. No! This is a mitzvah l'chud, and that's a mitzvah l'chud. You have two mitzvahs over here. They could each do ala kais. You do it the right way. Bring a kais for each mitzvah. Give each one its due. Give each one its chashivas. The first case of the mechaber, you only had one kais. But if you have two kaises, use two kaises. If you have two kaises, so you bench on the first kais, and you're going to make a bar priyagofen, and you're going to drink it. Points out the Mishnah Berurah, that's a chiddush. You're allowed to drink the kais of benching, afshu kaidam havdalah, even though that means that you're drinking before havdalah. How are you allowed to drink it? You already benched on Shalosh Shudas. How are you making a new bar priyagofen? And remember, why are you allowed to continue your Shalosh Shudas after Shkia? Because it's all part of a Suda that you started before Shkia. But now you ended the Suda. Now you're making a new bar priyagofen on a new kais of yayin before Havdalah. That sounds like you're doing new eating after Shkia before Havdalah. How are you allowed to do that? It explains the Mishnah Berurah, like I spoke out. The kais shel Birkas Hamazon shaykh l'suda, because even though the kais of Birkas Hamazon literally comes after benching, it's still considered part and parcel of the suda. The chol zeh l'mishen izer tamid levarach ala kais. But says the Chavetz Chaim, this is only true for those who always bench on a kais. If you paskin like the Mandi Amar, that Birkas Hamazon tune in kais, so you always bench on a kais, then yes, then you're allowed to bench on Suda Shlishis with a kais, and you're allowed to make a bar priyagofen and drink that kais after benching before Havdalah. But for most of us, that we don't always bench on a kais, because we paskin like the shita that Birkas Hamazon does not require a kais. Then you can't rely on this kunz and make a new bar priyagofen and drink the wine of Birkas Hamazon before Havdalah. No, you don't paskin like the Mandi Amar Birkas Hamazon tune in kais. So why are you suddenly using a kais and drinking before Havdalah? The truth is that if you go to a lot of Chassidish shtiblach, they have this minig that they drink wine, that they bench a la kais by Suda Shlishis. Shalosh Shudas in the shtibel, they do Birkas Hamazon a la kais, and they don't drink it. And then they use that wine for Havdalah. After Mariv, they use that wine for Havdalah. So they'll bench a la kais, but they won't drink the kais, because you can't drink the kais before Havdalah. Because of the Chayyadam writes, this halacha that you can't drink the wine before Havdalah is only if it's after tzeis. If you're still in the world of Ben Hashmashas, near the Yachal Ishtais Mikashal Birkas Hamazon, then the Chayyadam says you're allowed to drink the kais of Birkas Hamazon, af mi she'einen is a tamid levarach ala kais, even if you don't always do Birkas Hamazon ala kais. Now I told you that there's a shaila that comes up very often. The shaila that comes up very often is Sheva Brachas. Because again, what are we saying over here? You had a long Shalosh Shudas. Okay? Shalosh Shudas was over after Tzeis. So Shalosh Shudas was over 55 minutes after Shkia. So it's already after Tzeis Kechavim. Now, you want to bench al hakos. Okay? You want to bench al hakos, and then you want to make a bar priyagofen, and you want to drink the kais. How can you make a bar priyagofen and drink the kais? You're literally making a new bar priyagofen and drinking a new kais of yayin before Havdalah. So yeah, if you paskin Birkas Hamazon tune in kais, so fine. So you're allowed to do it because it's part of the Suda. Okay, but we generally don't paskin that Birkas Hamazon tune in kais. So we wouldn't drink that kais. Now, what do? Shabbos Sheva Brachas. So it's Shabbos Sheva Brachas. You're making Sheva Brachas by Shalosh Udas. Sheva Brachas requires a kais, right? 2 kaisos. The kais for benching, the kais of Sheva Brachas, right? And hello, it's called Sheva Brachas, 7 brachas. You know what one of the 7 brachas are? Bari Priagofen, on the kais for Sheva Brachas. So now what do by Shalosh Udas of Sheva Brachas? You need a kais. You're going to make a Bari Priagofen, drink the wine. It's before Havdalah. We don't paskin Birkas Hamazon tune in kais. So there's different hanhagas, different people paskin different ways. The way Rav Moshe paskin that you bench on the kais, you make a Bari Priagofen on the kais, but who drinks the kais? The chassid and the kala. Since the kais is coming for Sheva Brachas, so the chiyuv of this kais is being generated by the chassid and the kala. The chassid and the kala are the ones who drink the wine. Nobody else drinks the wine. They could drink before Havdalah. Nobody else can. Okay. Moving along to Sif Hey, 3 lines down near the end of the line, says the Mechaber. Okay, so we've been talking about the fact that you're not allowed to eat before Havdalah. All right, somebody goofed. Va'akal koidim shehivdil. Came home from Ma'ariv, and there was a nice geshmak piece of cake on the table. Cut himself a piece of cake, and he ate cake. He ate something before Havdalah. So Machloikis in the Gemara in Pesachim, I think it's on Kuf Hey. Machloikis in the Gemara over there. If you ate before Havdalah, do you still make Havdalah now on Motzei Shabbos? Or perhaps you should wait until Sunday morning and you should make Havdalah Sunday morning. Why? Because Havdalah, so to speak, is supposed to be made on an empty stomach. I don't mean it's supposed to be made on an empty stomach. You had a geshmakish al shudis. But you're not supposed to eat before Havdalah. You ate before Havdalah. All right, so now don't make Havdalah. Go to sleep, and before you eat, break fast. Before you break your fast tomorrow morning, make Havdalah before you eat. There is one such shita in Pesachim. I'm not going to go into the where and the why, but that's what one shita says in Pesachim. Comes the Mechaber to Paskin not that way. The Mechaber Paskin is like the other shita. You goofed on Motzei Shabbos, or the Mishnah Berurah is going to say, or even if you didn't goof, even if you ate bemazed for some crazy reason. If somebody goofed, va'akal koidim shehivdil, and he ate before Havdalah, yakal Havdalah achakach, he could still make Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos. Says the Mishnah Berurah tesvav tava akal v'hu adinim hizid va'akal. Even if he went and he did it bemazed, after avar bemazed, b'kol tzarich lahavdalah achakach balayla, he still has to make Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos. Ella, why did the Mechaber say ta or chedemon sanakat? We're giving you the normal case. We don't expect people. Like the Gemara would say, Bishut Skinan. Are we talking about Avrayanim? We're not talking about bad people. So why did he eat? Pashtas he goofed. V'chein masha kasav achakach v'sivav shachach v'lo yivdil huadin behizid v'lo yivdil. Sivav. Shachach v'lo yivdil b'motzei Shabbos. Things got very busy at home. You davened Ma'ariv, you came home, somebody wasn't there yet to make Havdalah, so you postponed Havdalah, and then this came up, the other thing came up, and guess what? Before you know it, somehow Sunday you realize we didn't make Havdalah last night. So Shachach, somebody forgot, or like the Mishnah Berurah says, or he did it b'mezid. He purposefully didn't make Havdalah Motzei Shabbos. Shachach v'lo yivdil b'motzei Shabbos. Whatever it is, you didn't make Havdalah Motzei Shabbos. Okay, could you still make Havdalah? So the Mechaber brings down a machlokes. The first opinion says, Mavdil at soif yom shlishi. You can make Havdalah until Tuesday night. You got the first 3 days of the week, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. You could still make Havdalah. Says the Mishnah Berurah is cut into Zayin. Mavdil at soif. Why? The chol elo ashloish yamim, because the first 3 days of the week, shayachim oid l'Shabbos ha'avar, they still belong to the previous Shabbos. So we can't vahala, but from Wednesday and on, shayachim l'Shabbos haba, that belongs to the next Shabbos. The truth is, we could see a remez to this in our Shachris davening. Where? By the Shir Shel Yom, when we say the Yom. If you take a look at the end of the kapitel, Hayom Yom Revi B'Shabbos, Shabbai Hayo Levi Yom Beveis Hamikdash. If you look at the end of the Yom, L'chu niranan al Hashem nariya l'sir yishenu. The first pasuk of Kabbalah Shabbos is at the end of Wednesday's Yom. Why? Because Wednesday already belongs to the next Shabbos. Now Wednesday starts when? Tuesday night. That's when Wednesday begins. So the first 3 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, still belong to the previous Shabbos. You can still make Havdalah. Once you hit Wednesday, you already belong to the next Shabbos. It's too late to make Havdalah. When we come Malkim, nevertheless, says the Mishnah Berurah, L'kulei alma l'chatchila yakdim l'havdil b'yom rishon. There's reason makdim and l'mitzvahs. This doesn't mean that if you forgot to make Havdalah Motzi Shabbos and you realize Sunday, you could say to yourself, I got plenty of time, I'll make Havdalah on Tuesday night. No, it's reason makdim and l'mitzvahs. You have a mitzvah, you do it. Also, what are you going to do? Now that you realized you didn't make Havdalah, you're not allowed to eat. If you have the ability to make Havdalah, you're not allowed to eat. So what are you going to do? You're going to not eat until Tuesday night. The Rabbi Kiva Eger brings down a very interesting thing, and the rationale for this is going to come up very soon. The Rabbi Kiva Eger says, we're talking about Havdalah Motzi Shabbos. So it's saying that according to the first opinion of the Mechaber, if you didn't make Havdalah Motzi Shabbos, you get 3 days. All right. What if it's Yom Tov, and Yom Tov ended on Monday night? Yom Tov was Sunday, Monday night is Motzei Yom Tov. Motzei Yom Tov, you forgot to make Havdalah. Do you get 3 days to make Havdalah? Says Rabbi Kiva Eger, no. Then when we say Yom Tov ain't Havdalah Tashlumin. You don't get extra days to make Havdalah on Motzei Yom Tov. On Shabbos, you have this svara that Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday belong to the previous Shabbos. What are you going to say? When Yom Tov ends on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday belong to Yom Tov? Yom Tov has nothing to do with a week. So there's no days that belong to the previous Shabbos, days that belong to the next Shabbos. That's as far for Shabbos. It's not as far for Yom Tov. So Yom Tov, you don't have any kind of tashlum. When we come Malkim, nevertheless, Hagon Rabbi Kiva Eger b'tzadid sham, Rabbi Kiva Eger takes the position to chol yom rishon she'achar Yom Tov yachal havdol. But for the full day after Yom Tov. So in other words, if Monday night was Motzei Yom Tov, you could make Havdalah all day Tuesday. Ayin Sham. Now, the reason for this is very deceptively simple. The reason is because if Yom Tov is over Monday night, when do you make Havdalah? Monday night. What's Monday night called in Halacha? Tuesday, right? But in Halacha, the day starts by the night. So if Motzei Yom Tov is Monday night, and you make Havdalah Monday night, that means you're making Havdalah on Tuesday. So says Rabbi Kiva Eger, if you forgot to make Havdalah Monday night, you can still make Havdalah all day Tuesday. Because that's always when you make Havdalah. You always make Havdalah on Tuesday. Usually you do it at the beginning of Tuesday. You do it Monday night. But if you didn't do it that part of Tuesday, do it at the end of Tuesday. Right? You still have the whole day. You still have the whole Yisro Chag after Yom Tov. Okay, now let's go weiter here in the Mechaber. Now says the Mechaber, 4 lines up from the bottom near the beginning of the line. V'yesh Aimrim, but there is an opinion that says, and this is the Rif, V'yesh Aimrim she'enam avdel ala kol yom rishain v'loi yoser. There are those that say that you could only make Havdalah on Sunday. You can't make Havdalah Monday and Tuesday. And again, it's the same svara. Why? Because this opinion holds that you have to make Havdalah on Sunday. Because that's when you always make Havdalah. You make Havdalah Motzei Shabbos, which is what? Yom Rishon. So yeah, the whole Yom Rishon you have. But Monday and Tuesday, because it's connected to the previous Shabbos, this opinion does not hold of that svara. Says the Mishnah Berurah is cut Yudzayin. El kol Yom Rishon, d'lo yisveru lu asvara now. Ach b'yom Rishon atam hu da yom halachachar alayla. But Sunday, Sunday you can make Havdalah because the day goes after the night. Shalom Yitzay Shabbos. So you're always making Havdalah on Yom Rishon. So you get the whole Yom Rishon to make Havdalah. Now, says the Mechaber, 4 lines off the bottom near the end of the line. All right. So you didn't make Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos. So, according to the day of Rishona, you have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. According to the day of Shnia, you only have Sunday. But what's your Havdalah going to look like? It says the Mechaber, V'dafka boiri pri'agafen v'hamavdol min kodesh l'choil. But your Havdalah is only going to have 2 brachas, not 4. You're only going to make the bracha of boiri pri'agafen on the kois and the bracha of hamavdil, of Havdalah. You're not going to make a bar mina b'samim and a bar Maria Eish. Spells out the Mishnah Berurah. Aval al ner, to make a bracha of bar Maria Eish on the ner, u'b'samim, to make a bracha on the b'samim, bar mina b'samim. Why the Mechaber wrote it in that order is interesting. I mean, we do b'samim and then ner. Why did he write ner u'b'samim? So aval al ner u'b'samim einam avarach ela b'motzei Shabbos. Those brachas are only appropriate for Motzei Shabbos, right? Because why are you making those brachas? You make a bracha on the b'samim to revive yourself for the loss of the neshama yisera. Fine, that's appropriate to do right after Shabbos. If you waited until Monday to make Havdalah, or according to the second opinion, until Sunday to make Havdalah, you know what? You lost the neshama yisera, you survived. It's too late to go give a sniff of something pleasant and revive yourself. That you can only do right after Shabbos. Bari Maria Eish you make because Eish was created on Motzei Shabbos. It wasn't created on Sunday. So you're not going to make a Bari Maria Eish on Sunday. Says the Mishnah Berurah cut Yud Ches. Aval ala ner, the Birkas ala or, the bracha of Bari Maria Eish, Mishum de Motzei Shabbos Guzman Briosai, because that's when fire was created. Vala b'samim nami, Mishum kedei lahashem nefesh ha'keyavis b'siyas neshama yisera. It's to revive yourself from the pain of losing the neshama yisera. V'chol zeh lo yishayich b'motzei Shabbos ve'elich. None of this applies after Motzei Shabbos. Okay, let's just go a drop further over here. Says the Mechaber, v'yesh mi she'omer. So let's be very careful over here. So we had two opinions over here. The first opinion says you didn't make Havdalah Motzei Shabbos, you can make Havdalah through Tuesday night. Till Tuesday night. The second opinion says you didn't make Havdalah Motzei Shabbos, you make Havdalah on Sunday, but past Sunday you can't. Now says the Mechaber, v'yesh mi she'omer. There are those that say, the hard the kaimalon ta'am mavdil. We said in Sifhei halacha. Sifhei, we said a halacha that if you ate before Havdalah, you could still make Havdalah, right? Not like the Mandi Omer and Psachim, who says once you ate on Motzei Shabbos, you don't make Havdalah until Sunday morning. No, we paskin, you ate on Motzei Shabbos, you still make Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos. Now says the Mechaber, v'yesh mi she'omer. There is a Torah in the name of the Bahag that says, Tahad the Kaimalon Ta'am Mavdil. This that we say, that if you ate on Motzei Shabbos, you still make Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos. Hani mili heiche dehivdil b'leil Motzei Shabbos. That's only if you're going to be making Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos. Avalim lo yehivdil b'layla kevet shetam shovedim Havdil. If somebody came home Motzei Shabbos and he ate, and then he didn't make Havdalah, and then he ate breakfast Sunday morning, and he ate lunch Sunday afternoon, and now he realizes he never made Havdalah, this Yesh Mi She'omer says, now you don't make Havdalah anymore. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ois Katan. Yesh Mi She'omer. I thought there was a Mishnah Berurah on this. Okay, no Mishnah Berurah. Okay. Haga, V'ikar Kisvara Rishayna, says the Ramah that the halacha follows the first opinion that you could make Havdalah through Tuesday. Now, there's a little tiny Mishnah Berurah over here. Mishnah Berurah is cutting your test. Kasvara Harishayna, says the Ramah that the halacha follows the first opinion. Va'atarvayu yesh oimrim koi. What this means over here is the halacha follows the Svara Rishayna. It follows the first opinion of the Mechaber against both Yesh Oimrims that came after that. What does it mean? It means the halacha is like the day of Rishayna, that you're allowed to make Havdalah through Tuesday. And the halacha is not like the first Yesh Oimrim that said you're only allowed to make Havdalah through Sunday. So we're discounting the day of Shniya. We're passing like the day of Rishayna. If you missed Havdalah, you can make it through Tuesday. We're also passing like the day of Rishayna against the last Yesh Oimrim. The last Yesh Oimrim said there are those that say that this halacha of Sifhei, that if you ate before Havdalah, you still make Havdalah. That's only if you're making Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos, but not if you're making Havdalah Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. Says the Ramah, no. We paskin like the day of Rishona completely, which means if you didn't make Havdalah Motzi Shabbos, you could make it through Tuesday. And we don't paskin like the last Yesh Oimrim either. So if you didn't make Havdalah on Motzi Shabbos and you ate before you made Havdalah, you could still make Havdalah through Tuesday. So that means you forgot to make Havdalah Motzi Shabbos. You didn't remember Sunday. You didn't remember Tuesday. You ate Malava Malka on Motzi Shabbos. You ate breakfast, lunch, and supper on Sunday. You ate breakfast, lunch, and supper on Monday. You ate breakfast Tuesday morning. You could still make Havdalah Tuesday afternoon, right? Because you're allowed to make Havdalah through Tuesday, and you could still make Havdalah even though you ate before you made Havdalah. What Havdalah are you going to make? The Havdalah you're going to make is only going to be Bari Pragafen and Amavdal B'Kodesh L'Chayil. You are not going to use Ner or Bisamim. Okay? Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. This is limud HaTorah should be Megan against Klal Yisrael. The Rosh Hashanah should send Yeshua Sefurus Parnasa Sheduchim to all those in need. We should be zeichet to see the Bias Goel Tzedek B'mher V'Yameinu Amen. Be well.